Every time I snap my fingers, another game is being remastered. God of War 3, Borderlands 2, DMC Devil May Cry, and the list goes on. Older games are being upgraded to 1080p 60fps and given a shiny new coat of paint. But recently, a lot of these remasters have been met with a groan from the gaming community. I think that we have reached a tipping point. Remasters were fine for a while. The Last of Us Remastered was welcomed just 1 year after it had first come out for the PS3. Same goes for GTA 5. Halo the Master Chief Collection's announcement was met with applause as fans were especially eager to replay Halo 2 in all its remastered glory. Other remasters that fans were happy about include Grim Fandango and Resident Evil. I suppose in those cases, like with Halo 2, enough time had passed where a remaster provided a substantial jump in graphical quality, validating its existence. However, it is understandable to say that too many games have gotten the remaster treatment as of late. In this year alone we have had Saints Row re-elected, Resident Evil HD remastered, Dead or Alive 5 last round, Grim Fandango remastered, Oddworld new and tasty, DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition, Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, and Borderlands the Handsome Collection. God of War 3 is coming to the PS4 and that announcement was met with partly because not all remasters are viewed equally. Grim Fandango Remastered is celebrated for bringing back one of the great adventure games with an all-new lighting system and crisp visuals that don't deter from the spirit of the game. It gives a new generation of gamers a chance to play a great game that they may have missed. For those who have played it, now they can replay a memorable game that is better than ever. On the flip side, God of War 3 Remastered, Saints Row 4 Re-elected and DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition are seen as cash grabs. I think the main reason is that they are not old enough. Many gamers still own a PS3 or Xbox 360 and can pick up those games on the cheap. Sure, they might not be in 1080p 60fps, but it is still largely the same experience. They are not bringing back some long forgotten game with radically better graphics. They are slightly improved versions of games that we see on store shelves already. With games that are still fresh in our minds being re-released, it reminds us that there aren't a whole lot of new great games to whet our appetite. We are currently 1.5 years into the 8th console generation and quite frankly, it has been underwhelming. We keep waiting for it to kick into high gear and justify all the money these shiny new consoles cost us. God of War 3 is a great game, but we would rather have God of War 4. Borderlands is a blast, but we have already played it. What about the new wave of next-gen games that we were promised? The Order 1886 was far from revolutionary, instead playing more like Gears of War 1. Evolve didn't transform the multiplayer space like we hoped. To be fair, there have been some stellar games released. Dragon Age Inquisition is another fine RPG from BioWare, and Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system is perhaps the most next-gen thing we have seen yet. But on the whole, the big games have been a bit hit or miss. We are still waiting for this generation to hit its stride, so when another game from yesteryear is getting the remaster treatment, it feels like we are taking a step back. Especially when some games are only a couple of years old like DMC Devil May Cry. Instead of getting to play something brand new, we get a shinier version of a game that people have already played just 2 years ago. Luckily, it does seem like things are about to change. I think the 8th console generation is on the verge of realizing its potential. Bloodborne is unanimously praised and many people are engrossed in it, making them happy they own a PS4. The Witcher 3 is coming out in 2 months, with Batman Arkham Knight soon to follow. Both games are poised to be spectacular given the track record of the series and the developers attached. In a few months' time, we could easily be singing the praises of the Xbox One and PS4 and the wealth of excellent games available for them. Once we have these exceptional games present, the gaming community might not mind remasters as much. As for right now, I understand why people are a little bit annoyed. PlayStation's slogan was greatness awaits and some are still waiting, especially if Bloodborne isn't to their liking. But to be honest, I don't have a problem with remasters. God of War 3 is one of my favourite games, a game that I have the Platinum Trophy for. Will I be playing it on the PS4? No. Will I be playing another game that I really enjoyed, DMC Devil May Cry, on the PS4? No. I've never bought a remastered game, not one, partly because I'm a cheap bastard, but mostly because they don't appeal to me, and that's okay. These remasters are for one of two groups of people. If you have never gotten around to playing Grim Fandango, Halo or God of War 3 because you didn't have the right hardware or it just didn't interest you at the time, well now you can give it a try. Or if you are a massive fan of the game and would like to replay it while bathing in nostalgia, you can. Sure, there are a lot of remasters coming out, and not every one will appeal to everybody. Saints Row 4 Re-Elected is for one person and Final Fantasy Type 0 HD is for another. Sure, the remasters aren't for me, but if somebody wants to buy them for whatever reason, I have no issue with that. An argument could be made that we wouldn't even be having this remaster discussion if consoles were backwards compatible, and that may be the case. Re-releasing a 2-year-old game with slightly better graphics on a console that can already play the original version might not catch on. A remaster would have to be significantly better than its predecessor to warrant its existence. If not, few people would bother buying it. I suppose we'll never know, as we are unlikely to see another backwards compatible console due to the need of cutting costs on manufacturing in order for them to be sold at a competitive price. Another concern is that instead of developers focusing on creating something new, they seem to be spending their time bringing back older games. Although remastering a game from a few years ago is normally done by a fraction of the studio with the rest of the team working on that potentially great new game. Santa Monica Studios has over 220 people on staff. I doubt all 220 were working on God of War 3 Remastered while ignoring their other project. They are still hard at work crafting Kratos' next adventure while a select few members on staff remaster God of War 3. Nowadays, AAA games take years to make. If the developers decide to have some members on staff spend a few months remastering an older game, it won't have that much of an effect on the development schedule. They know the big money is in making something new. Sales of a remaster will never outdo sales of a brand spanking new game. This is where their main focus is. Remasters are side projects adding financial support for their next big release. While I do understand why remasters rub some people the wrong way, I'm okay with them. No matter how many games are brought back from the last generation, nobody is forcing me to buy them, and I know the developers are still hard at work on creating new games. So if somebody wants to buy DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition with their hard-earned cash, have a blast replaying it just 2 years after finishing the original, that is fine by me. Thank you for watching and take care. I don't have a problem with remasters. One more for safety, Adam. This is the part where I talk to myself in front of the mirror and give myself a prep talk. You're doing good, Adam. People won't think this is shite. Carry on.